Cartels versus ISIS. Why a war model fails and what actually works. Imagine 4 threats that look similar on the news, but behave completely differently in the real world. Mexican cartels, ISIS, the Taliban, and Colombia's FARC. People ask, if the United States got serious militarily, how long would cartels last? Militarily? Not long. But that question hides a bigger truth. Cartels don't survive by winning battles. They survive by running a business system inside weak institutions and corrupt networks. Today I'm going to do 2 things. First, compare cartels to ISIS, the Taliban, and FARC, so we stop using the wrong mental model. Second, I'll lay out what a realistic US-Mexico joint strategy looks like, one that avoids invasion, but still hits cartels where it actually hurts. The core difference. Start with the simplest distinction. ISIS and the Taliban are political military movements. Cartels are profit-first networks. ISIS tried to build a proto-state, courts, taxation, governance, funded by extortion, oil, kidnapping, and looting. When ISIS lost territory, its revenue dropped hard because the state model depends on holding ground. That's documented across multiple analyses of ISIS financing and revenue tied to territory. Cartels are different. They don't need to hold territory like an army. They need corridors, ports, corrupt protection, and fear, just enough control to keep business moving. Cartels versus ISIS. ISIS is a territorial project. It raises money like a predatory state, tax, extort, kidnap, loot, and when it controlled oil fields, it sold oil. That's why coalition pressure that denied territory was so decisive against ISIS. Cartels aren't built like that. They can lose one corridor and shift to another. They can lose one leader and regenerate. They can absorb hits and keep selling into stable demand because their end state isn't ideology. It's revenue and impunity. Cartels versus Taliban. The Taliban is a long war insurgency model. They outlast opponents by time, sanctuary, and politics, by building parallel governance and legitimacy, especially in rural areas. They're not trying to maximize profit. They're trying to control the state. Cartels don't need to become the government. They'd rather capture pieces of the state, police, ports, prosecutors, so the government works for them quietly. So if you fight cartels like the Taliban, you're missing the point. This isn't a legitimacy contest for national rule. It's a systems contest. Corruption, money flows, and enforcement credibility. Cartels versus FARC. FARC is the hybrid case, an insurgency that became deeply entangled with the cocaine economy. Over time, parts of the movement acted less like ideological guerrillas and more like criminalized armed networks, and the post-demobilization period is the warning label. If the state doesn't stabilize territory and institutions, the vacuum gets filled by dissidents and organized crime competing for the spoils of peace. That's the lesson for Mexico. If you only remove leaders without building durable local security and justice capacity, you can trigger fragmentation and more violence. How long would cartels last? Now back to the question. If the U.S. used full-spectrum military power, how long would cartels last? In a direct conventional sense, cartels can't fight the U.S. military. They don't have integrated air defense. They don't have a survivable logistics chain under persistent surveillance. They don't have the kind of command structure that can withstand sustained precision pressure. But here's the trap. Even if you could smash cartel formations quickly, the cartel system would mutate. You'd get splinters, you'd get civilian harm, you'd get sovereignty crisis with Mexico. And you'd still have demand, money laundering, precursor supply chains, and weapons trafficking. So military victory is not the same thing as strategic success. The realistic strategy. So what does a realistic US-Mexico joint strategy look like? One that avoids invasion. The best public umbrella for this is the US-Mexico bicentennial framework, which emphasizes security, public health, and safe communities. The key is to attack cartels as a business system. Here are the 6 lines of effort. Line of effort. 1. Network targeting, not kingpin obsession. Don't just chase the top boss. Build cases against the enabling network, logistics, finance, corruption, and procurement. The goal is prosecutions that survive court, not just raids that create splinters. Line of effort. 2. Financial war at scale. Cartels need laundering and professional facilitators, treasury tools, financial intelligence units, banks, and prosecutors need a shared playbook to freeze assets, seize infrastructure, and put facilitators at real legal risk. Line of effort. 3. Precursor and equipment control. Fentanyl production depends on chemical supply chains and industrial tools. Joint port integrity and end-use verification matters more than headline seizures. Line of effort. 4. Southbound arms enforcement. If you want fewer cartel gunmen with military-grade weapons, you have to treat U.S. to Mexico arms trafficking as a strategic priority, tracing, prosecutions, and dismantling trafficking rings. Line of effort. 5. Justice system resilience in Mexico. Cartels live on impunity. That means witness protection, vetted investigators, protected judges, and prison control, because prisons can become command centers. Line of effort. 6. Violence interruption and community stabilization. This is the part everyone underfunds. You focus on the few municipalities driving the national homicide trend, combine targeted enforcement with services and economic stabilization, and measure success in real outcomes. Homicides down, extortion down, businesses reopening. Sequencing. In the first 6 months, you aim for fast impact. Standing joint fusion cells, top facilitator cases, a surge on precursors and arms, and port integrity pilots. From 6 to 24 months, you scale durability. Judicial protection, vetted units, prison governance, and municipality stabilization, so the cartel ecosystem can't just regenerate. And there are red lines that keep this from becoming an invasion. No unilateral kinetic operations on Mexican soil, strong human rights compliance, because legitimacy is the foundation of cooperation, and success measured by net harm reduction, homicides, overdoses, corruption, not just seizures. So are cartels as strong as ISIS? Not in ideology, not in state building, but in their ability to corrupt systems and regenerate? They're in a class of their own. The way you beat that isn't a war of occupation. It's a joint campaign against the business model. Money, chemicals, guns, corruption, and impunity, plus real stabilization where violence is hottest. If you want part 2, I'll map this into a scorecard. The exact metrics that would tell you if Mexico and the US are winning or just making headlines.